A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to another episode of Man Up. This is the corner for men, as I like saying. This is where, as men, we get together weekly and we have conversations on issues that affect the man in this generation. And there's so many issues that affect men in this generation. So we need to talk about them, because in talking we find solutions and we get to hear different points of view concerning similar situations. Now, we began a series a couple of weeks ago talking about reshaping masculinity. Today we want to talk about matched mindset, basically relationships among men, with mentoring being the emphasis. How can we build that as we look at the men coming after us, and also as we think about the men that are here today? Got two amazing men joining me in the studio to help me with this conversation. First and foremost, I have motivational speaker and author Isaac Maweu. Isaac, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
I also have writer, columnist, and also a minister. This is Drake Masinde. Drake, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
If there's one thing maybe we will leave with you, Isaac, before the end of this conversation, is you need to keep a beard.
Oh, you're challenging me. That's a great challenge, because looking at both of you, I'm feeling I'm the odd one here.
Yes, but don't worry.
All right.
All things are possible.
We'll make you feel at home.
Yes, all things are possible to them that believe. Gentlemen, I'm just wondering, thinking about men and relationships between men, do men form strong relationships, or do we just have superficial relationships?
From my experience, men have always had relationships, but when we compare the relationships men have to the relationships women have, they are different. And I say they are different because of the context in which men are brought up, or men become men, the way women become women. Women are more social, men are more inclined to chart their own path. So I believe that men form relationships and they're different. The second thing is, which I want to talk about and I want to mention before I forget, is our socialization, the urbanization that we have had in Kenya, in Africa, and around the world, has put men's relationships at a disadvantage, because you see, like growing up in an African society, you always had men you're looking up to. Like if you grew up in the village, there's that father, there's that uncle who can call you or put you to task. But when you come to the urban setting, it's a little bit different, because you have your father, he's working all the time. You have your mother. Your mother cannot teach you how to be a man. So the only person you have is your father, and if your father is not around, it means that there's a gap in your life. I think that's something that I can point out concerning men and relationships.
Well, it's a common challenge, and it has serious impact, speaking from a counseling psychologist perspective. But the real issue is, one, how are we made in terms of our mindset? Men form relationship with a target, of a purpose, with a goal. We are here because of this show.
Yes.
After this show, we may not even talk about it any other.
That's so true. That is so true.
People will meet in churches. Maybe you are a member of a certain church or a certain group, or you are doing something in common. Once that is done, finished. Because we are wired in a certain way. When you look at the men's psychology, men wants to be connected with others because of achievement. This gentleman helped me in such an aspect, and therefore this becomes a great friend of mine. But when you think about them, it comes off. So even when I look at the friends that I've kept for a long time, the ones that I had for a long time, when I changed profession, I forgot about them.
Wow.
And it's interesting. We only meet, guy, this has happened to so and so. Okay, let's meet up. Let's try to help. So and so, and that's done. Once that is done, so
you move on.
So the idea is, how are we wired as men? Number two, there is that aspect of when you talk of women and emotions, that's their area. Men are logic. They are facts. So what is the idea behind this? That brings the whole difference. Therefore, that's how we are. And maybe the area now we can look at is, what is the impact if we don't build these relationships. What can we gain by having a mentor, a close friend that you can talk to? Because once that is developed, it will help. Especially at a time like this when we have a serious challenge of mental health when it comes to men.
Very true. In fact, interesting you bring up the issue of mental health.
Yes.
You know, one of the things we saw when COVID hit is a lot of men went into depression, losing jobs, pressure at home with the family and all that.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, what's the importance of these relationships, especially a mentoring relationships? Interestingly, last week, I had two gentlemen here. We invited them, but we didn't know they are friends and they're actually neighbors. Yes. Okay. And so they were saying how during the COVID time, that's when they really bonded.
Yes.
Because they would meet.
Yes.
Hapo tu inje kwa gate and start talking.
Yes.
And they started opening up to each other. Man, I'm going through this. And the other guy would say, you're not alone. Even me, I'm going through that. So how do we tackle this? And they would talk into the wee hours of the night.
Yes.
And they formed such a strong bond because they opened up to one another. And I find that as men, when we are going through some of these mental health issues, we don't want to talk to anybody. Because society has taught us, we ni mwanaume maze, unajikaza kisabuni. Kwanza sasa emotional issues unapelekea nani? Yeah. So what's the place of that connection in that relationship?
There's what we call universality of problems. All of us have different problems.
Yeah.
When you go to the coast, they say, kifo cha wengi ni harusi.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a saying in the
coast.
Swahili. Bringing the fact that when I have a problem, you have a problem, all of us have a common problem, we'll be able to figure out a solution easier.
Yeah. Sometimes as men, we even so secretive. So even helping somebody else becomes an issue.
Yes.
You know, I've charted my path and my friend here is struggling, but if they come to me, I'm not even willing to help them. Or maybe they're too proud to come to me for help. You know, I've seen even situations where a man is so boxed in himself that even after he dies, the family has no idea where to begin, because they don't even know what kind of property this man had, you know, what kind of investments this man had, because you're so boxed. You don't want to reach out to others. I don't know how we can break that thinking.
I think from where I sit, there was a time I was doing a study on long life.
Yeah.
Because one of the issues that we've had, especially COVID, showed you how short life can be.
Yes.
So with the long life, I was doing a study on people who live long, and there's a place in was it Italy? It was a book which was written by a guy called Daniel Buetna. It's called The Blue Zones. And there's a place in Italy where men live longest.
Okay.
Now, one of the common things that you would see among those men is that those men met daily. And it was from all the ages.
Wow.
So there's a place, a socialization, a social setting where the young men met, the middle-aged men met, and the old men met. Now that showed me something, that men, in the area of mentorship, you need men who are above you, men who are at your level, and men who you're mentoring. The reason you need those three is because first they put you in check. So if you are with men who are your peers, and you meet regularly, not necessarily, and these men do not meet necessarily because they work together or they do together. It's because it is common for them just to meet, sit, talk. And because of that, these men live very long. So it's the only place in the world where you find very many men who are over 100.
Wow.
21% of them live to be over 100.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's a huge number.
And so that means, 1%. From where I sit and from the study that I did, I realized men need a tribe. It should be an area of concern if a man doesn't have a tribe. You spoke about your nephew, your nephew who was getting married. There was a tribe there. There are these two men who have formed a tribe. They have formed a relationship that has transcended quite a number of decades. And they have deliberately actioned themselves to make sure that this thing works.
Very good.
No wonder the Bible says it is not good for man to be alone.
Yes.
Of course. Of course. And he has talked about the issues of mentorship. and that connection between the different ages. You know, someone said, and I changed it to be my own words in my own settings, that moving on life without a mentor is like someone going through a thick forest for the first time without a forest warden. You can imagine how disturbing it can be. You can get lost, and you can spend a lot of time without knowing where to get the right things that you are looking for. When you have a warden, somebody who has gone before you, somebody who's an expert, you become a better person. That's where now mentorship plays a key role, because somebody is able to tell you, I made these mistakes when I got into this. Don't make the same mistake that I made. The mentor will do that. When I started this journey of motivational speaking, counseling, is one man that today I still salute him, though he rested. Dr. Miles Monroe. 5 minutes conversation with him, he told me one thing: young man, you got great potential. You can do that better than Les Brown and Miles Monroe. I said, are you sure, sir? I said, yes, believe the words of the prophet and you shall be established. What did he just do? He looked at my life after giving a bit of the story. He looked at his own life and life that Les Brown that I was comparing myself with, and he said, you got the potential. So we just need that one person who will spark, who will still have the potential in you, and you begin a journey, and now the rest is getting somebody to work with you in the journey.
Very, very true. There's been a lot of talk about the boy child and the neglect of the boy child.
Yes.
You know, the girl child men ameshughulikiwa, things are looking good, you know. But the boy child, the conversation has been the boy child has been neglected. And I keep asking, who neglected the boy child? If you're talking about mentoring here, you're talking about pouring into the next generation. Are we failing as men, the next generation, because maybe we have no idea what we need to do, or maybe we are like that, we grew up like that person you're describing. We are going through the forest alone. There's really no one to guide us. We are just going. Yeah. What's the issue?
The issue is boys are raised by women. Men are made by men. You see, a boy can only become a man if he goes through a man who will teach the boy man things. That's why we go through initiation. You remember in our African context, when you go through initiation, that was the day they cut off the umbilical cord with your mother. They told you that from today, you're going to be sleeping near the gate. Anything that happens. Yes. So, and I think it's the men who have dropped the ball. The generation of men who came before us have dropped the ball. Probably because of the issues that they've been going through, like life, that you need to provide for your family, the settings we find ourselves in. That's, I believe, the reason men have dropped the ball. And it was even there from the beginning, in the days of Adam. Adam dropped the ball. Your wife is talking to a serpent and you're just seated there thinking, looking at her, she's so cute. I mean...
And did not take responsibility.
He never took responsibility. It was a sin of omission.
I'm telling you. You're watching Man Up. We are talking about matched mindsets, focusing on mentoring. You know, I love what you said. You know, when we talk about mentoring, you have those who are gone before you, those you are the same level with, and those that you're mentoring. A friend of mine once told me that to teach another is to learn better. The more you teach somebody, the more you learn. And the more you have somebody over you, the more accountable you become. We're taking a short break. Kama kawaida, kimbia jikoni, uchukue kopo la maji. I've always wanted to say that. Uchukue kopo la maji. Take a glass of water. We'll be back shortly.
Tomorrow on The Corner.
Do you think social media has affected our culture and also our lifestyle as young people?
Some of these things, they're outdated. We want to do our own thing.
The younger generation, most of them are not relatable. They are very transactional.
I think it's vital that you find common ground.
Yes.
The cultural practice could probably be a violation of your own rights as an individual. So now, where do you draw the line?
Don't miss out on The Corner tomorrow at 8:30 p.m.
Welcome back to Man Up. Tonight we are talking about matched mindset, focusing on mentorship and just male friendships and building each other up. You know, I was just thinking, gentlemen, as we were taking the break, of the church setting. Are we doing enough in terms of mentoring the next generation of men spiritually? Many churches have got more women than men.
Yes.
You know, and usually young men, teens, young adults, that is where you find they came to church because Maria alikuwa anawaleta church. But they get to a certain age now, they can make their own decisions. Some of them disappear, never to be seen again. And so I'm wondering, are we very deliberate as men to pour into the next generation of men spiritually in our churches?
Well, depending on different churches, like where I go, I belong, I worship at AIC, and we have a group for battalion, where it's young boys who are being trained and mentored and all that.
Yeah.
Of course, girls are being mentored in other groups they call cadet. Now, when they move from that pre-teen, they get now to youth. There is a youth for all. Now, when they marry, men, they have a group we call I'm forum for men, specifically for men, where we call ushirika wa wanaume wa Kristo. So it has that ushirika wa wanaume wa Kristo. We talk about men's stuff and how we can mold them and make them better people.
Okay, that's good.
Of course, women have their own called the ushirika wake wa Kristo. So that is a structure under AIC. It's a department called Christian Education Department. So that is a structure. And I would wish to encourage churches in different setups to have the same. Because looking at that mentorship and continued framework, it will help people a lot in the church. You have just mentioned the aspect of the statistics in terms of how many men go to church, women. From day one, gospel kind of was packed as if it is something for the women. And for a long time, men have looked at Christianity and faith as a matters for the women and not for men. Yes, Jesus Christ was a man. The disciples that he picked, the 12 were men. Of course, we know there were others, and the women played a key role. But how we made faith to look like something for the women, I don't know where we messed up. But Pastor, you can look at that and...
I can answer that. In the 15th century, more women started coming to church than men. And I believe that was the time the gospel became effeminate. And I will explain. The effeminate gospel, you see, when men talk, men are action-oriented. We want a gospel, for example, that talks about hell, war. That's our forte. Like David, Goliath. But you see, when you talk to women, women like the woman with the issue of blood, the Samaritan woman. You see, and it's...
As we want Gideon.
As we want Gideon. We want to know how 300 men can kill 46,000, that kind of thing. And we want the strategy. And by the way, funny thing, do you know, theologists have gone and they have dug up and they have discovered so many things about the woman with the issue of blood. But do you know they have never discovered how 300 men can beat 46,000? As in, they have never done that research. That shows you that the gospel has been a tad bit effeminate. And I can qualify that by saying the Holy Spirit will minister to the people who are there, the women. So we grew up knowing that the Sunday school teacher is a lady. So you are a young boy, you go to Sunday school, all the teachers are ladies.
Even lower primary school.
Even lower primary school, they are ladies. Then when you become a teenager, when you're now trying to discover your masculinity or your manhood, there is no male model except the pastor who is so inundated with the issues of the women and the running of the church that he doesn't give you time. That's now where the men's fellowship comes in. But even then, the men who are in the men's fellowship, if you compare to the general number in the church, there are very few.
Very few, often.
And by the way, there are very few churches which have been able to solve that conundrum of how to package the gospel for men. Because I believe the gospel has to be packaged to men. Because they are the best people. Men, the way God made us, we were made to mentor. We were made to lead. We were made to head. And if it does not happen, it means that there is a gap.
I'm just wondering, as men, what can we do to be able to cultivate these strong relationships whether it is with those who've gone before us, you know, because that's also the other thing that I find is hard for a good number of us, because even the relationships we had with our fathers were not that strong. So for people the age of our fathers, our relationships are not tight because we see them as our fathers, and we never really connected with our fathers. You know, they were there, they paid school fees, they went to do their stuff. You know, so there's that level, there's this, our level, and then there's the level of those who are looking up to us. How do we deliberately ensure that we are building strong relationships?
I'll start with one of the problems that I treat, called TB.
TB?
Yeah, I'm not talking about tuberculosis here. I'm talking about too busy. so
Okay, I've never seen it in that perspective.
we are too busy. Men are, because of the responsibility, that's the excuse. We have a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure to provide and do all this, and therefore makes us too busy.
Yes.
We are too busy for our children. We are too busy to mentor people. We are too busy with looking for financial aspects of wealth.
Yes.
You know, there are seven spheres of wealth. Finance is just one part. So there are other parts that we've neglected. And one of it is the family. So now, the point is, we need to create time to mentor these young ones. We also need to create time to learn from those who are ahead of us.
Yeah.
And the word is being deliberate.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we will not do anything. You know, naturally, human beings are lazy. That's natural setup of a human being. But the moment we initiate the move, there's a need for us to do this, to save a generation. Let me give you a scenario and see how serious this problem is. Go to the prisons. The men are leading. I think about 60% of the people in the prison are men. Go to rehabs. The greatest percentage
Is men.
are men. Go to prisons, rehabs, go to hospitals. Work in an hospital setup, and there's something we call mobility and mortality reporting. A number of people have been discharged and well, a number of people have died. Men die more than women. Yes, everywhere. This is research.
Wow.
Talk about the recent case of COVID. How many were looking at the gender? Men were more affected in terms of COVID than the rest. Men, we have a challenge now in terms of health aspect. We have a weakness of seeking help. Even about our own health. Until when we go to the last minute. When it comes to the last minute, that's why now the mortality rate is high for men. So the idea is we have a challenge. And if we don't take it up, we will lose it. So the big message that I can deliver here today, and speaking to the camera, is let's save this generation by being deliberate as men to save the next boy and learning for those ahead of us.
Wow. Yes, I like that. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, men, that deliberate aspect of mentoring, especially the young men, the people who are coming, and connecting with it has always been there in the traditional African setting. And the reason I say that is because we are Africans. And sometimes one of the issues we've had is trying to import knowledge from out there and applying it here exactly the way they did it there.
In the context
so that has always been a problem. But we are Africans, and we have always had that mentorship setup. We have always had, there's someone you're always looking up to, and there's someone who you're always bringing up. That has been lost because of urbanization and trying to get the bread, trying to make a life. I think we need to reignite that, especially in the church setting. And we should also try and be relevant to this young men. Because I remember one of the issues I had, especially when, because I got born again as a child, then as an early teenager, then lost the faith somewhere. One of the issues I had is because I was being told I can't listen to reggae.
I see.
I can't listen to reggae or rap. Because when you go to church, you're listening to choir. This is choir, Arusha, where? And I'm like, this thing is not working out. And when you're talking to the ladies, they're like, yeah, that's good music. And I'm like, no. I never saw, like, for example, men of God who I wanted to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's now where we lost the ball.
Yes.
Because that's where we lose the young boys in church, because you don't see a man you want to be like someone.
Yes.
You don't see pastors go to the gym. Like,
Yes.
And you're
Jimmy, I'm a pastor ni hapa, mama.
And I remember when growing up in Eastlands,
Yes.
we used to live in Buruburu, and it was next to Jericho. And one of the things that you had to know was how to learn how to fight.
Yes.
So wewe utasema umeokoka uchapwe hapo kwa kona. So
Yes.
for you to be able to belong, you have to belong to a gym.
Yes.
Or bodybuilding something.
Yes.
And it was not there in church.
Yes.
Because in church you're told, go and pray, sijui kwa practice, intercessory.
Yes.
I'm a boy. Okay, it's good, but how is it relevant to a teenager? So I think those are some of the things that we need to incorporate to bring in our generation. Then our generation are going to mentor the ones who are coming after
Very
us.
true.
Good.
Very true. Very true. I think what both of you have said is very important. You know, the key thing with what both of you have said is being available.
Yes.
We need to be intentional and we need to be available.
Yes.
You know, because I believe we have something that we can deposit into the next generation. You know, I keep telling the young people in church, I envy you. Because what we are teaching you, if I had been taught when I was your age, hata sasa sijui ningekuwa wapi.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's to encourage them to recognize that they have an opportunity, you know, and for us to be able to work together. My time is almost up. I'll give each one of you a minute to give us your closing remarks.
I would say the greatest act of leadership is mentorship.
Yeah.
Let's mentor others. Number two, like men, all of us, at some point, we need help. Let's not die silently.
Yes.
We are here as professionals, like a counseling psychologist, as a coach, as a life coach. We are here to help those who are ready to help. And also, let's also be ready to learn.
Yeah.
Because if we don't learn and unlearn and relearn, we'll be the illiterate of the 21st century.
I'm telling you.
Yes.
Wow.
I believe my parting shot is men are made through a process. Women raise the boy. Men are made by men, but through a process. And that process is where we have lost the plot a little bit. But we are not badly off because we have recognized that we have lost the plot. So as men, we need to be very deliberate in creating those processes, those places, those spaces for boys to become men.
Yes.
And when boys become men, and men become responsible men, men who fear God, men who can be men who can be depended upon in the situations we find ourselves in. The society in general will be good. And we are going to raise a generation of men who we can proudly usher. Who can proudly usher the next generation who will come after them.
Good.
Yes.
Very, very true. Wanaume, let's not be lone rangers. Let's be deliberate.
Yeah.
You may not have had a mentor, but you can begin to be a mentor, you know, because especially in this generation, I don't think we've ever seen a generation that has so many single mothers as this generation.
Wow.
And all those young men need somebody to mentor them. And so be that man. Mentor those in your neighborhood, you know. Go to schools if you can. I have a friend of mine who goes to prisons to talk to men. It's important. We need to be there for one another. That's all the time we have for Man Up on this lovely Monday evening. Thank you so much for watching. If there are any topics you would want us to discuss on this show, please feel free to suggest by sending them via text on 20316 or WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. Until next week, ubarikiwe.